All right, foolish me forgot to add the actual share screen in order to do the startup. We're doing great today to start, guys. All right. How is everyone tonight? Now that the chaos is, slightly under control.
The good news is that we'll have an unlimited amount of times we can redo this stream to get everything perfect. You don't know it, chat. We've done this many times already.
Yep.
You're in a time loop.
That's the theme, after all. I'm method reviewing.
Uh
We have to keep doing the live stream over and over again until it's perfect.
oh. Or
Oh, so
until
you mean I have to deal with the dish person coming and having an argument with the dish guy?
I mean, we have to at least. Pardon me. I'm trying to remember how these. I was just saying it's amazing how much I've managed to forget in like 4 weeks as to how everything works. So, we apparently had one person who has gotten their days wrong because Senevere is not here. But I'm sure she will be with us in the future, and hopefully she enjoyed the show. So let's start before we actually get rolling. What were everyone's first impressions? I mean, I love this show, so I'm kind of biased, but
Well, when I first started watching this, I just thought, oh no, she had me watch just a police procedural. This isn't kind of my thing. And then but then I realized that it wasn't just that. It's got that extra element. The time loops are one of my favorite science fiction concepts. Groundhog Day was one of my favorite movies as a kid.
a
And
twist.
yeah, yeah. The twist is what got me. And I love the Stargate SG-1 episode Window of Opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, and Jonathan Banks is here.
What everyone else think? Eraser has already said that it does not hold a candle to Carnival.
It doesn't. I'm not saying it's a bad start. Listen, man, it's a very solid start. I think it does everything a pilot episode should do. It's good. It's just not great.
But
yet.
but no midgets.
No,
Not yet.
I need a show to start with midgets to put me in the right mindset. Okay, come on, like we all need our headspace. Tay Diggs is cool, but he's a little too tall.
So it was very nostalgic for me, is how I would describe it, because this show is aggressively 2006, is the first impression I get, honestly. Where it calls back to that time where CSI Miami with their famous sunglasses, yeah, intro was really popular.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Mhm.
orange just in general. And
Which is interesting. So I actually saw this long after it actually showed, which is how most people seem to have seen it. Like it's not that people didn't like the show, it's that people literally just didn't know it was on. And so for all of the oranges and the yellows are so kind of crazy for, a more I don't know. It's weird to say modern because 2006 doesn't feel that long to me, but it is in the grand scheme of things for a lot of people, so
yeah, in my opinion, I love the twist. I'm very biased toward time loop series, but specifically the editing and the aesthetic is very reminiscent of police procedurals around that time period.
Jacob?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, just about every show that has a loop in it like this, they have to get that first few loops out of the way, and I feel like that this was the episode for that. If that makes
The
sense.
montage of loops.
Yeah, right, right. So I feel like this is just a setup episode for the episodes.
Do you feel like they did it,
The
do
best
you feel
part.
like they did it well?
Yeah.
So we had one who got the day wrong, and then we had one who forgot to do his homework.
Well, actually,
So
I did message Cindy, and she said that she told you that she couldn't make it this first episode. I think.
oh, you know what? She did. Okay, that is totally my bad. I forgot because we had this whole back and forth conversation about when we were starting.
Hmm.
And there was a possibility we were going to start next week, and then she would have been able to make the first one. So yeah, that is completely my bad.
Our apologies.
Yes, absolutely. So Darnell, did you get to watch the beginning? We have silence.
You're muted. There
He's
you
still
go.
watching it right now.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't turn my mic on. I turned it here, but not here. I am an idiot. Um, this goes to add to my excuse. I have 4 kids, and it's the summer.
So you
I'm,
watch it with the kids?
no, they're age, no, they're either bored with it. They're 6, 9, 10, and 13. They're either bored with it because it's dad's show and it's stupid, or it's something they just not gonna. They're like, yeah, I don't feel like even giving it a shot, Dad.
Okay, so what you do is you say, "No, this is a grown-up show. You can't watch this. You're not old enough."
Well, you know what happens then? They don't stick around. They just keep coming in and out. Because trust me, I try to watch. Me and my wife watch Supernatural every night. Well, we try to, and for a 142-minute episode takes us about 2.5 hours.
Oof.
So yeah,
So did you get a chance to watch any of the beginning?
I got to watch the first few minutes. I think maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes. Um, I liked what I saw so far, and I was very looking forward to finishing it today. We had storms, and I almost had to back out because the storms kept messing with the internet here today. We had
Yeah,
bad storms.
yeah, the storms have been pretty terrible in a lot of places.
Yeah, it
so.
was really, really bad here. I almost had to text you and back. That we had to back out because couldn't keep a steady signal.
Well, I'm grown-up show that leaves me out. Well, we're delighted you made it. This is
Thank you.
probably gonna spoil an awful lot of the first episode for you, but
That's fine. I'm fine with it. From what I saw, I'm excited to keep watching. And it's my fault. It's been around for 20 years. I haven't watched it. It's my fault.
well, but that's what I was saying earlier. It's one of those weird things that, like, everyone that I know who has watched it, their response has been, "Man, this show is amazing. I never even knew it existed." So,
Yes.
for the chat's benefit, it's kind of interesting that if you look at the ratings, the reviewer rating is 50% and the audience rating is 100%.
Something I found out about shows like this, they can do insanely well, but they won't get renewed because they don't fit what the studio's looking for in the future.
This
Yeah.
didn't just not this was more than just not renewed. I mean, this was when there were still 24 episodes per most season. This one only got 13.
And
It's
yeah,
the golden age.
I forget which show I'm thinking of. There's one specifically. They only aired. I don't mean Firefly. There's another show that aired roughly half the season. It was doing amazing, but it didn't fit with what the studio wanted in the next 3 years. So they just axed everything that wasn't this type of stuff. Like Reaper was CW. Reaper was an amazing show. 2 seasons in on a massive cliffhanger. It was getting insane ratings. The CW said we're gonna go all in on vampire shit, and they just canceled everything else.
Wow. Chat. Do you feel like we're better off just blowing the whole screen up so you can see better, or do you think it's fine the way it is? I didn't realize we were going to take up quite so much of the screen. Because the last time I did this, we just kind of were all in a row at the bottom. So let me know what you think. So 617 swaps to 618.
You put your hand in mine. Oh, sorry. Wrong movie. Sorry.
Thank you, Max. Max says he thinks it's fine. This guy wakes up before the alarm goes off, looks at the clock. His girlfriend's still sleeping. Well, we find out she's the girlfriend.
She has bad
Spoilers.
pillows. Yeah.
The
Yes, she has
girlfriend
bad.
seems like it's underselling her a little bit, but yeah, her pillows are pretty bad.
I mean, I'm pretty fussy about my pillows, so
Yeah.
it's like, I love Hilton Properties, but I hate their pillows. They're terrible.
I just sleep on the floor. Who needs a pillow?
Sleep in a dumpster, man. It's
Make
free.
a nest from leaves and sticks.
You get free food.
So they have the cutesy morning adorableness.
That never happens in real life.
I mean, it does really early in relationships. I mean, really early.
Very true, yeah.
Then it
I mean-
starts. Oh, your breath stinks. Ah,
I remember getting excited seeing Victoria Pratt's name because I love her. She's awesome.
Um,
I
he looks
do
up.
have one minor nitpick. A lot of the characters in this have a nasal accent.
It depends on where it's filmed. It's filmed in Canada. That's why they had the accent.
Oh.
For some reason in Vancouver, a lot of productions are bothered by colds and shit like that because of the weather and all the wet.
Okay.
It affects again, bringing up Supernatural. You can see Dean talking normal in one episode, and in the next episode, but halfway through the episode, he starts sounding like he's like got a cold.
Oh, huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that, but I also live in a fairly cold climate, and I live in a climate where almost everyone has allergies, so we probably sound exactly the same.
True.
I learned quite a bit recently about Hollywood.
So crashing sounds. He looks out the window. Joggers running by a truck.
Trash truck.
You
There's
gotta
a
get
Another
those
one of
little
those,
details set up early in a time loop show so you can compare them across loops.
Chrysler drives by.
Establish
Yeah, I really like that shot too because it's so easy to get focused on like the garbage truck and the joggers running by that you don't realize the black car, rolling down the street. It's very well done.
Like the wide shot.
The other thing that doesn't happen really early in relationships, though, people getting out of bed with their clothes on.
Only
you're
in
early-
Hollywood.
Well, this was on TV, so
Yeah, this isn't Carnival. You can't show that much shit, man.
Yeah, but if you're early enough in a relationship to be having like cutesy talk first thing in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
it's because you're both in a really good mood.
Yep.
What also shows that it's very early in the relationship is that it doesn't seem like she goes over to this place very often, if at all.
Yeah, she said.
Yep.
She says next time we could go to your place, and he goes, "Eh,
We'll see how the day goes.
I
yeah."
also
It almost felt like he was hiding her from his family or girlfriend.
Well, not even
Sister.
that. I thought it was more he's hiding her. Well, not hiding, but like keeping her from his apartment because of the ongoing case he's involved in
Mm.
with the DA. So it's almost like I don't want her anywhere near that. There's probably case files at his house. There's a lot of stuff. So yeah, I'll sleep in your bed tonight, honey.
I'm sorry. I think you guys are missing like really obvious. Look at her room, and then later on look
Oh,
at
yeah,
his.
it's
I figured
typical
somebody
bachelor
trashed it.
House.
Yeah.
Oh, but even aside from the trashing it, her place is just nicer.
Yeah,
True.
he seems to
Well,
live
her
in like
ex
a
was
rundown place.
her ex was reasonably high up and presumably kind of wealthy.
Her ex was his partner until somewhat recently.
Oh.
We f-
Oh,
again, we find out later.
I thought the implication was that they were partners, like much further back, and he'd been promoted to internal affairs for a while. Maybe I misunderstood that.
He was the old part. Yeah, Chad was his old partner.
Yeah, because he specifically says
Yeah.
later on we haven't been partners in ages or something like that.
Maybe I just associate Chad's actor with being incredibly rich and successful, but we'll get to that.
It it can't have been too long because he says that he believes that he was sleeping with her while they were rolling.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
So he gets in the shower. She climbs in after him. They're getting lovey again until he decides to mention her ex-husband in the shower.
Yeah.
You never do that.
I thought she brought it up.
She brings up Chad. He brings up work, and that leads to her talking about Chad.
He says something about, do you think?
Oh, you're right. Actually, you're right. He says he's afraid he'll lose another partner, which is a reference to Chad. So he
Right.
does bring him up first.
But yeah, so they have this. That's the look on her face when he brings him up. She's just like,
and dried out.
She's like, and there
Imagine
goes
not being attracted to that man, though. Ridiculous.
There's something else that never happens, in my opinion, even later in relationships. You get in that shower, you're starting to get busy, you start talking about your day.
And then you choke to death on your food.
Karma.
It might, because she says the life of a nurse, and he says the life of a cop, and both of those are careers that, I mean, cops especially, their jobs kind of absorb them.
Right. I was a cop. My wife is actually a nurse, and it does.
there
But
you
we have never once mentioned it in the 6 years we've been together. Right before or during getting busy. We'll save it for after.
Maybe he didn't. Maybe he was unaware she was attempting to get busy.
Maybe, yeah.
He was already thinking about his day. She was thinking about other things. He gets dressed. Oops, shoot. Hang on a second. I hit the wrong button. He goes to shave, and he ends up knocking a dish on the ground. And
he cut himself first, or nicked himself.
Nicked himself and then knocked it over. So this I thought was great, because there are so many television shows and movies that have this forced conflict between people, based on the fact that nobody ever talks to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And having two people have a healthy conversation where she says, I was kind of unhappy that you brought up my ex in the shower, and he goes, oh yeah, that was totally stupid of me.
Yep.
And I'm really sorry about your dish. And this normal, rational conversation that a healthy relationship would have, as opposed to this tension that just builds for absolutely no reason over the course of a show, or happens during the third act for no particular reason.
Yes. Drives me insane.
Yeah, one realistic thing they do is she teases him about the plate, which is something
That was actually very
real.
funny.
Yeah.
Little place called a gas station.
Felt real. Did y'all also notice through this whole episode, things are happening cause and effect?
You mean it doesn't feel like we've got forced plot yet?
No.
We can't have that.
That will assert itself within too long,
I do have to say, and this is going to sound really terrible, but you look at her, and you look at him, and then you look at her ex, and you just think, one of these things doesn't belong.
Her?
It's like the line from the House episode, 10s get with 10s and 2s get with 2s, and 2s don't get with 9s.
Yeah.
So they make up. She helps him on with his jacket. He's, kind of off with his day. All is well with the world. She does, I think, try to coax him into, going away at some point, and he says he can't because he's on a case. Hey, the ghost with the most is here. I was trying to figure out where this is supposed to take place. I mean, we've got palm trees and we've got...
Is it
It's Santa...
LA?
It's Santa Monica, California.
Oh, okay.
There we go. So no reason for them to sound nasally, then?
No.
Well, I don't know about the filming, but yeah, maybe it's actually... They're actually in Santa Monica.
I mean, that set was quite well put together. If they're if they're not at least someplace with a similar environment and similar architecture.
And that's the
Uh,
crazy thing about again about movie shows and TV shows and movies. They'll scour the fucking globe just to find. I'm sorry, I curse a lot, guys. They'll scour the globe to find a place that looks like what they need, or if they can't, they'll like do a couple outside, like a Psych filmed entirely in Vancouver, but the
Mhm.
outside shots with the helicopter that was all done in one afternoon. It's like 3 hours of footage that they spliced throughout the whole 8 seasons of the show.
It definitely
nice.
makes me feel like they're in LA.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
Like
will
Where they're
scour
supposed
the
to be.
world to find the right location and then film in Vancouver anyway.
right, and then they'll occasionally go back to back to the initial location and like city just to get some shots throughout the series. But yeah, you
I
do a
think
good
a
job
lot
of
of
hiding it.
times, I think the difference is that actors nowadays don't want to go places. They're
Mhm.
like, nope, I'll take the
Yeah.
job, but I'm not moving. So they're like, all right, well, we'll just take the cameras. Whereas it used to be that actors would just pack up and go wherever it was that.
Never
Yeah.
thought I'd miss Adam Sandler's dedication to the art of filmmaking.
That's terrifying. One of the other things I found really interesting about this is that this is normally, like you said, it normally looks like a police procedural from this period, but then every so often you get these kind of like out of the ordinary shots, and they're always just for a split second. Um, I don't know. I just think they add a little extra something cool to the.
I I do like them early in the episode. I think like those quick like skips in the camera, it kind of creates like a bit of tension, anxiety. But I feel that the more they do it throughout the episode, the less I like it. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but as the episode went on, it became more annoying than interesting.
I think it's also that, in addition to that, the editing choices, which are not stellar, get more and more apparent as the episode goes on. It has
Yeah,
you kind of losing patience with the other things it's trying to do.
yeah.
I think it wants you.
Yeah.
It wants to put you in a frenzy because of the loop, but it doesn't start off so bad. It get ramps up later.
There's a couple shots that are so fast they're actively confusing.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I was gonna say I'm gonna be interested to hear your thoughts on the editing because again I've seen this a couple of times, so sometimes it's hard for me to go back and see it with that eye of first time. Coffee shop because gotta have your coffee on the way to work.
I never understood why people don't make coffee at home in shows. Like you have no coffee maker at your house.
Well, he was at her place.
I was gonna say
Oh,
it was
like she has no coffee maker at her house.
What a
well,
nurse.
yeah, but
Coffee.
they spent
A
too much
nurse
time
would.
getting snuggly in the bed and in the shower.
Yeah,
Different kind of
yeah.
hot coffee was involved in that.
Good. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's an old school one.
So he happens to see the paper as he goes in. Has been a district attorney found dead.
What a strange coincidence.
I mean, not really. People seem to get found dead all the time.
Well,
Yeah,
and somebody seems to be stalking him.
Sorry, that
This
was sarcastic.
scene-
It wasn't clear.
This scene reminds me of Speed. He goes into the coffee shop, then goes outside, and there's the bus blows up.
He
Looks like it's in place.
bangs into this woman. She knocks all her stuff over. He helps her pick it up. She does not appear to be terribly grateful. She does appear to be unhappy about his gun.
That's a Starbucks then.
Yeah,
Back in
yeah.
the halcyon
Yes,
days
no,
when
no.
telling people you were a cop would make them more comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, it would explain why you were carrying a gun, because, I mean, I'm not sure what the gun laws are in that particular section of California, but...
If it's anything like the rest of California, probably not great.
So, he sees a phone number, goes out, chases her down to give it to her. She acts initially like he's, stalking her or something, and then she's like, oh, yeah, thanks. And then this car kind of comes out of nowhere. He, throws her onto the sidewalk, and her car is absolutely demolished. And her first reaction, he sees like, "Are you okay?" And her first reaction is, "My car."
Again, she's not grateful.
She is like so absolutely oblivious to what almost just happened.
She could be one of those unlucky people that constantly lose cars getting crashed, and she's like, it's like her 8th car of the year.
Oh no, not
I-
again.
After
Yes,
she
exactly.
after she yelled about her car, I really, considering she's wearing all white, I really expected her to start yelling at him about her outfit.
Well, buying overpriced coffee saved a life.
This
And
time.
this also acts as his kind of save the cat moment where he goes
Or-
out of the way to risk his life to save an innocent person.
Yeah.
Innocent,
Or-
quote unquote, I guess.
Or you can always also say, but a cop with a gun saved her from getting hurt. Huh?
I mean, I'm just
Did I
saying from a
make you
screenwriting
better?
perspective, this is a thing to make us like the protagonist.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I know.
This is another one of those shots that I was talking about because it's like just a little bit blurry, and the way the horizon is very separated color wise and everything else.
Yeah, because it should be
Beautiful
reversed.
orange.
If it's the morning, the city
Here's
should be
Miami.
lit up first, and the beach should be lit up last. If it's
I
the
just
morning.
as-
Well, it
I just
depends on
assumed that that
where-
was really terrible smog.
What is the East Coast? But you can see the sun's. This is the West Coast. The sun's coming from the ocean.
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
it's the West Coast.
So like the sun should be behind the city right now.
Yeah, so this was actually sundown, not
Yeah.
if they are in fact in
Or they shot
California.
it in Florida or something. I was going to say it's very Miami Vice. Maybe they shot it in Miami. That would make sense with the vibe.
Mhm.
So he goes to his apartment, checks his mail. I mean, his
Oh,
place
you
is
guys.
his place is already lousier than
I
hers.
was right. This coffee shop that he was in is the exact same coffee shop that was in Speed.
Oh, wow.
Good catch, my man. Good catch.
Good for them.
That's how they really make their money. They just hire themselves out to movies all the
Right,
time.
right.
Places do that. There are businesses that do that.
So where are they located?
Hang on.
Oh,
Get
that
the
would
The
be
coffee
true.
shop is the Firehouse, and it's located in downtown Los Angeles.
Oh,
Hey,
shout out to the Firehouse.
LA
so-
confirmed.
He gets yelled at about, a leak and his dog barking a lot. And this hallway just felt so claustrophobic. I don't know if they did it intentionally or they were just trying to give the impression of kind of a lower standard of living, or if they were
What
trying
I-
to like increase the tension for
What I get when with stuff like this in movies or shows is they're showing the guy either A, doesn't care about his living situation because all he cares about is his job. That's usually what I get out of most of these with this. Like, I'll take the cheapest apartment around because that's all I can afford, or because my job
or
takes
it's
over my
close
life.
to work
Right.
where he's likely to get called in a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely bachelor-esque lifestyle. So he goes in, and his place has been absolutely trashed.
And at this point,
Ah.
his neighbor had told him, like, "Hey, you had a leak. There were plumbers in your house to fix it." So, he's opening this door. You see that it's a mess, and you're already assuming the worst because they mentioned that there was already someone in your house. It's it's good way to set up tension.
Well, and because we already know that he's working on this super dangerous case.
Yeah.
Now, as
That-
a former law enforcement officer, if I'm in his situation, I would have entered this house already on edge with my gun probably out or my hand on it. Because if I'm not there working on a massive case like this and there was strange people in my house, I wasn't there, that would make me nervous.
Did they say they were in the house, or did they just say plumbers were here?
Yeah, we said
Turn
there
on
was a
subtitles
plumber.
and maybe it'll show it.
Well, they said plumbers were here. I didn't know that they said that plumbers were like in his
Oh.
place.
Okay, my bad.
I think his neighbor.
Well, I don't know. I may
I
have
think
missed it.
I think his neighbor said something along the lines of, "You had a leak. now we have a leak. The plumbers were here, which I believe implies that they were in his house.
It does. I
Oh,
agree.
see, I thought what he was trying to say was you should have told us you had a leak because if you get a leak, we get a leak.
No, I actually think you hear the neighbor's wife like yelling at him to yell at Tay Diggs. So I think their house is already flooded, and that's why he's like, dude, you had a leak, we had a leak. My wife's not happy. Maybe be home and get this shit sorted out. Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, they sound like asshole neighbors anyway. Or landlord or whatever. So yeah, he's checking the place out to find out what's going on. And everything has just been torn apart.
So I was looking more where they did the most of the filming was in New Mexico.
Okay, yeah. I that actually was what I had expected the whole thing to be, because New Mexico tends to be, similar vibe, but a lot less expensive.
Yeah.
Also, to briefly recap the neighbor conversation, the exact line is, "You have a leak. My wife says plumbers come. Now we have leak." And English is not really their first language, so it's possible that they were miscommunicating, and he thought something else. Hard to say.
Yeah, that was the thing, was that I was having a hard time figuring out what they were supposed to be trying to say versus,
I think that's intentional.
which also may be why he didn't go in gun already drawn, because he's just
No.
like, yeah.
But he's got the
I
gun
just,
out now.
Okay.
I just want out of this conversation.
Right. Well, I'm gonna add one more piece of irritating information. When he saw the house, he should have stepped back and called it in. That would have been my first thing. Just control the door and call. I mean, if you left your house, they were supposedly plumbers, and they walked into this. I would have a nitpicking cop shows because it's if you do a profession of a show you're watching, it irritates you all the things they don't do they should.
Don't worry, I'm sure the cops will be here soon.
I was going to ask you what you thought of his stance.
If you can go back to it. I did notice he was stopped in the middle of the room, which is ridiculous. No, stupid. If his hand is like this, like it looks like, it's stupid. Yeah, the fact he's walking. I'm not saying he should be running through his apartment, but the walking slowly, being out of concealment and cover as much as he is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a cop, but I'd be hugging the corners and the side of the wall. It sounds like he's kind of just, hey, this is my house. It's a mess.
The problem is look at his walls. He's supposed to hug those.
Or at least get low and move with a purpose. Don't be like,
It's a wall only a mother could hug.
Yeah.
Well, but then we find out that he has this dog with a chewed up shoe, and he does not seem terribly surprised that the dog is chewing on his shoes. So I don't know if he already had a suspicion that maybe the dog was responsible for this, but
Yeah,
I was kind of.
It's just me, but if I had left a dog overnight alone and was heading back, I wouldn't stop for coffee first, I don't think.
Well, not even.
Especially if the dog is known to destroy the house.
Not even that, but how? I don't know. It seems like he left the dog in the house for a little more than just a night. The dog looks bored. He looks hungry. I don't know, dude. He might have spent 2 nights over at her house because.
I think that's on you, man. The character, not.
I also feel like, considering the nature of police work, having a dog with no one else around at all
It's not smart.
Seems not great.
No, it's not smart at all.
I mean, when I worked in hospitals, I had nothing but cats until it got to the point where I was not working. I was not working a job where I potentially was going to have to work 16 hours with no notice. I am kind of wondering, what kind of dog just lets someone destroy the entire house and, barks a little bit, but then is like, oh, well, since you've already started up to trashing the place, I'm going to eat your shoes.
The kind that's left away for days at a time is desperate for any kind of attention.
Yeah, when I
Yeah.
saw the state of the place, I was afraid the dog was dead or something
Well,
because from trying to defend the place.
Or locked in a room anyway.
well, if you're gonna argue like why didn't the dog freak out if people did come into the house and mess around, we do see later that these shadow people dudes like they do use drugs a good amount. They could have just got in the house and drugged the dog, put him right to sleep for a couple of hours, did their thing, and then just left.
Yeah,
But then
that's
the
possible.
neighbors wouldn't have complained as much about the noise, though. I guess maybe the dog woke up after a while, and
Or they
then
had him
made
locked in a
noise.
room.
I think if they were going to be that thorough about it, why wouldn't you just kill the dog and be quicker about it?
Because they don't want to make it look like there's been somebody else in the apartment.
Yeah, that would prove that it was an invasion,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
yeah, because all they want to do is plant that gun. Oh, and
Um,
something else. Why did they
that
trash it if they just needed to plant a gun?
It'd be very funny if the dog actually ends up trashing the apartment. That's just a red herring.
Also, there are 9 messages on his answering machine.
um, I mean, the dog would still do a lot of barking when they were trying to catch it to drug it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and we don't know. We know they complained about the barking, but not for how long necessarily. The dog is very interested in the closet. He's listening to the messages. His sister left what, like 7 hang-ups or something like that?
9.
Six, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Because I think there were
Like-
9 messages total. 6 were
Oh,
from
you're right. 6 are from her.
one was
from-
Damien, and 2 other ones, I believe.
Mhm.
One is the mystery lady.
hmm
So he calls her. She immediately is like taking off away from her husband.
And
And
this
she's like, no, everything's fine. This reminded me a little bit of like The Godfather when Sonny,
Yeah.
when Sonny finds out that the husband is beating his sister.
And but you know what, the way this is shot, it's so disgusting and it's so creepy because she answers the phone, and for every step she takes to get away from her husband, like he's like a ghost just following her, getting
Yeah.
closer and closer, and like there's no heavy violent implication yet. Like he's not sitting there with like his fist balled up, but there's just such a
Yeah, there's a threatening
disgusting, threatening vibe
atmosphere. Yeah.
from him without him being overly violent, which I do appreciate. I feel like newer shows would have had him in the background, like slapping a baseball bat against his hand.
He's just, yeah, I mean, all he's
Single.
doing is making sure that she doesn't tell her brother what happened.
Exactly, and it works so well, man. Like it's menacing, and you don't have to
Yeah,
go overboard with it.
I think this is he still talking to her here, or is this when he gets a message from Damien?
He's just walked into the house, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, he's still talking to her, and she's just hung up, and he's just there, like you said.
He says everything's okay.
Yeah, everything's fine, really.
This is me nitpicking again. I've worked, I'd say, dozens of domestics. The wife never walks away with the phone unless she's calling for help, no matter what it is, because the man won't let her.
Well, I think that's what we're talking about, is that
What-
he kind of like just keeps walking up behind her.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. Let's see if I can put it a better way. By this point, which is based on looking at the house and the characters, at this point in relationship, and I'm saying this just as an observer, not as something I agree with. She would know better than to walk away with the phone. You follow what I'm saying now?
Well,
Unless this is the first time he got violent with her.
Maybe.
Also,
yeah.
we have the strong implication, but not confirmation yet, that her injuries are actually caused by him.
Mm-hmm.
Because we get the scene later on where he finds out that she's still with him at home, and he's like, why would she still be with him?
Well, I mean, yeah.
that's for a slightly different reason. Also, later in the episode, we could get into that, I think.
Okay.
All right, so the dog is still very interested in the closet.
Let's open the door.
That is the front door, I think. I believe that's the front door.
Is it?
Yeah, I think they're about to kick it in.
I always thought he was nosing. I literally, this is the third time I've seen it. I always thought he was kind of nosing at the closet.
But would SWAT shoot the pooch?
Even this now, definitely. Even this shot has the freaking orange green dichotomy.
Yeah, that's a Hollywood thing where any like desert like location will have that orange to it, yellow orange tinge to it.
It's the Mexico filter, yeah. In
Mexico,
this case, the California filter.
right? You got California, you got Nevada, Miami, like she mentioned, CSI Miami. They started getting really heavy into if it's a hot location, they're gonna throw orange and yellow into it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And Damien was upset that the safe house was hit. He wants someone to come get him. We don't know who he is yet.
Yeah.
And then they kicked the door in.
Which, like, what a confusing day for this poor dude, man. Because they establish later in the episode that he hasn't really talked to his sister in a while. So you get 6 messages from your sister. You know, your CI that you've been trying to flip for this case is now freaking out saying, come get me. And then your door gets busted open. Like, you think you're having a bad day.
And no one even fed the dog.
Right.
Dude, you know what? You're
Poor
right.
dog.
Oh my God.
He was eating his shoe, so he's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the only one having a worse day than Tay Diggs is the dog.
Well, you forget the girl who got her 9th car crashed.
I mean, she's about to have a worse day, but was anybody else really excited when this guy walked through the door?
I yelled Skinner at my television set.
What's he doing there?
I did the full Leo DiCaprio, like sat up in my seat, snapped and pointed. It was epic, man.
Right there.
I'm very happy. I love this dude. Like everything this man is in, he is absolute gold.
Yeah, I don't think he ever got enough credit.
No, definitely not.
So he basically informs him he's being arrested for the murder of the district attorney and
Former partner. You said? What's his former
Alberto
partner?
Garza.
Is it the same guys on a mask? I thought you had said his partner like climbed the ladder. Oh, he's internal affairs.
No,
Sorry.
no, he's
I'm
internal
wrong.
affairs. Okay,
I
got it.
apologize.
No, that's all right. I just didn't understand the question.
His former partner comes up later in the elevator.
Yes.
Okay.
And he's thoroughly confused because I can't remember if it's here or like the next scene with his lawyer. It turns out he doesn't even know Garza.
Yeah.
This is a great shot. Well, it's an interesting choice in shot because it almost makes him look guilty.
Well, it's a mugshot.
No, this is in the questioning.
Interrogation.
Yeah, he's in the
Interrogation.
interrogation.
Oh, right, okay. It looks so much like a mugshot, it tricked me then.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it
listen,
does.
with everything going on, I wouldn't be too happy either. So I think we could give the guy a pass.
But it's that super close-up shot. I mean,
There's a lot of
but-
close-ups in this show, just in
but-
general.
But that's kind of the thing, right? Like if you look at that shot there and you look at everything going on, like they're setting this man up to be a patsy. And if you're
Yeah.
watching the news and then they show you that, like if they show you this angry looking man and then say, yeah, he killed the DA, you're inclined to believe it.
but that's what I mean is that shot just makes him look. I mean, the last time when I saw this the first time, the last time I could remember seeing a shot that was this up close and designed to look dangerous was how they originally shot Silence of the Lambs with Hannibal Lecter. One of the reasons he's so creepy in that is because of those super close-up shots.
Okay.
And pan back. Zoom out.
This whole scene, I was like, he should be saying, lawyer, please.
Yeah.
He never asked for his union rep.
That was a thing
Yeah.
I noticed. The lack of the union was very conspicuous.
To be fair, not every state has them.
Well, there's
Yeah,
a lot.
California
Yeah.
does. Yeah. Oh yeah, we don't have one here in Louisiana.
There is
You on your
also
own.
there's a lot of weird going on too, because I think they zoom into this camera and you see that it's not actively on or recording anything. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but everything seems a bit shady. Like you could tell there's no light on the camera. It's not on. It's not recording a thing. All of this is shady.
Oh, that has to be deliberate because
No,
I had not noticed the light. That's a good observation.
no, it's very deliberate, but it's
Yeah.
like I'm saying, it's well done because you look at all these small details and like you recognize like he is being set up. He's a patsy. You feel bad for this dude, man. Like the show starts up. He wakes up. He just got laid. Like dude's on top of the world. 2 hours later, god damn, dude.
So then we get the good cop, bad cop.
I wouldn't
I
really
love that
say
dude. He's
either of
awesome.
them were necessarily good cop here.
which one was the good one?
Yeah, like
Also-
one might have been slightly less aggressive. But
I
don't
guess
think
maybe
either were
Troy.
good. Yeah,
Side note: California's had a police union since 1915.
Ah,
Yeah, should have lawyered up,
pretty
buddy.
see this shot I really like. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, they make that room look so long.
Yeah.
Well, that's I mean, like I know is Skinner over here? Is he IA? Is he Internal Affairs? I can't remember.
I think he's
I
just
don't
part of the
think so.
investigation.
Okay,
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
think that distance in the shot is almost like it's supposed to be intentional because they're all supposed to be cops. They're all supposed to be on the same team. Look at how far away he is from them now. He is
Well,
no longer a cop. He's not getting that,
Yeah.
brotherhood of cop thing. Like, dude, you're not one of them.
He's his prime suspect.
Exactly, and like I think that distance is intentional. It's a really cool shot.
This is part of what leads to my saying good cop, bad cop, though, because if you look at the distance between each of the officers to him,
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's
Otherwise, they'd have one on one side, one in the middle where you couldn't see because you'd be like, which side is he leaning to? This clearly delineates that they're opposite each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do get what you're saying, Goat. But in terms of actual actions and what they're saying, like I said, I don't necessarily think there is a good cop. There's just a slightly less pretentious cop.
Our main guy is the good cop, obviously.
Oh yeah.
That's true too. But
Well-
Detective Spivak, he's eating while the scene is going on, and eating when you're investigating is a sign of an asshole.
Oh, okay.
If I'm jumping
like-
ahead or spoiling some, let me know. Does one end up being like really horrible? Like evil?
I don't know.
I was
Not
going to say, I think
surprising.
I'm the only person that knows the answer to that.
Okay, so I know y'all said that it's like good cop bad cop less bad cop. Based on what we see later, it can like bring it back to this. Like they showed you in the beginning, this guy was a total ass and a bad guy. This guy was just a pretentious, huge egotistical prick.
I will say, because I don't think this is a spoiler, there is a point, I think, where the one on the right kind of goes, it's sort of weird. Why would he keep the gun in his closet?
Mhm.
Yeah, calls it a real stupid move.
Well, he does that, but later he makes a comment. I think it's in the second episode, actually. Which is why I said it's not quite a spoiler, but it's kind of.
It's a time loop, so we know what happens, kind of.
Right, but he makes a comment about like it is kind of weird that he would, because he gets more insistent about like this is a frame up,
Yeah.
and he's like it is kind of strange that he would like keep it in his. Seems weird. He listens better. I think that is what makes him the good cop. He listens better than the other. The other one has already made up his mind and nothing will budge it. So yeah, he basically is like, so why'd you kill Garza? And he's like, I don't even know Garza. And I was with someone, like, I have an alibi. We can I can prove that.
That's my junk.
Oh, gosh.
Swap my junk.
Alright, I think I'm gonna have to do a fairly big jump here because my key doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah, he has an alibi, but they can't really confirm it because Rita's not reachable right now.
Yeah. Okay, so it is. Huh. Alright, hang on just a second. My screen
But-
seems to be frozen. Is
Uh-uh.
that exciting?
That's always
Because
fun.
I don't know.
Because I can see the thing moving and I can hear sound, but it will not move off this shot. So, talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to have to drop this down and bring it back up again. What are we at? 10, 16?
He's talking about how the fingerprints have been faked.
Yeah. His
Yeah.
his I know he understands he's angry, but his stance is very, very defensive. So like I can guarantee they're taking note of that. If he was a
Yeah.
little more, I guess, opened up, they may be a little more understanding or open to listen to what he's got to say.
Yeah, the
True,
one
but
thing
anything they would know about suspect interrogation, he also knows, which makes the dynamic kind of weird here.
Yeah, one of the things I do appreciate here is that as angry as he visibly looks, it does seem like he's trying to keep a cool head, because instead of lashing out, he is trying to think things through. There's a gun in my house that could have been planted. Oh, there's prints. Those are harder to fake, but it could still be done. Like he's visibly angry, but he is trying to work things out rationally. And like Goat was saying, Detective Spivak kind of like his mind is made at this point. But you do see I can't remember his name, but Tay Diggs' character. But there's a lot of shots during this first episode where he really is just lost in thought, trying to figure everything out, trying to process this, because very early on, he can kind of see that he's on his own. Like the entire world is just going against him.
Right.
And I don't know, like it. There's a good balance between him, visibly being angry but still trying to work through shit. And I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. I mean, I've been questioned by IA, and before anybody in the chat says anything, all it takes is literally someone making a complaint, baseless or like no proof or not. They still take IA pulls you and treats you like a suspect. And I remember, like I was, I mean, of course I was innocent, but the entire time I had to keep myself. I'm a very ADHD. I have ADHD bad. Keep myself from fidgeting, keep myself from crossing my arms because that's a comfortable pose for me, just to to help get it across that, hey, look, I'm not, you know. So the guy interviewing me isn't like, well, he's hiding something by continuously moving or blinking fast or crossing his arms. I don't know. It's just when shows, when they have the seasoned cop in an interrogation as the interrogated person, when they just like, no, they're so emotional. It throws me out because that usually doesn't happen.
Yeah.
No, I do get that, but I also
I get what you're saying though. Yeah.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying. I think though the difference is, like you said, you've been pulled into IA for minute stuff. He's being accused of killing a DA. Like those are two very different things.
It is, yeah. Well, the worst one I was called in for, again, nowhere close to this. I was accused of calling a girl racist and a bunch of other stuff and the whole time, like, she's saying he was dressed in his uniform, and she kept saying this. I know he was this, but the IA guy had the video, and it shows me dressed all in black with a black hoodie, holding my child in a baby seat. Another guy came in uniform, and that's the guy she confused me with. But he was in a completely different department, so their green uniforms to our baby blue didn't match. But like, yeah, he was still like as a it could have been like horrible. Could have been like really, but it's nowhere near this. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
Calling someone racist is marginally less bad than murdering
Well,
a DA.
No, yeah.
That's
It was
good.
that plus. It was that plus. I tried to shut their restaurant down, and the woman has cancer, and she's about to die, and she's an owner. Dude, it got bad. Like I live in a small town, so like for a while, I was the most hated person in the area Because
This
she was
sounds
on
like its own
Facebook.
TV show, man. Sounds like its own show.
Believe me, in my career, I could probably have written a TV show for the shit I've gone through in a small town.
I mean, listen, man, with the writers in Hollywood today, give it a shot. What's the worst that happens, man?
Right?
Can you imagine a
Right.
show about small time cops being incredibly popular? Crazy.
Oh man.
But normally, we're a very red area. Normally, they're aren't hated here, but like because the woman was going on saying, I have to go into extra treatments now because of the way what he did to me and how this and that. So I was like, fucking, I couldn't. My ex-wife had to go to the store for me. Like when we were still married, she had to go out and get stuff. I couldn't leave the house when I wasn't
Oh
working.
wow.
Oh, that's crazy.
It
Yeah,
was
that's
bad, but yeah, it's nowhere near the same as this dude.
yeah.
Nowhere near the same.
This dude is like I said, man. I would hate to be this guy.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
another thing I really do appreciate about this first episode so far is the fact that I feel like we're moving at a fairly quick pace, but at no point does it feel like the show is rushing.
Okay.
And I don't know. It's another thing where I feel like they found the balance. The moment I feel like a show is trying to rush me through a set of events, I usually get disinterested. I do prefer a slightly slower pace. That's probably why I loved Carnival so much. But the fact that, like I said, there's a lot of there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things moving quickly, but there's no sense of anything being rushed. They still take the time to show reactions on characters' faces, and it's like I said, it's just a really nice balance.
Yeah, I mentioned in my last video that I was really tired of the fact that you couldn't have something emotional happen in a movie these days without someone making a quip, like immediately afterwards. Like emotions are not allowed. So
You can say
apparently,
Thunderbolts, it's okay.
huh?
You can say Thunderbolts, it's okay.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I thought Thunderbolts was better than some of the stuff they've turned out lately.
No, I noticed what you're talking about. Like almost all shows and movies have that now. There's an emotional segment. Someone's gonna come by and make a joke.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, we hate Joss Whedon these days, but his movies were really popular, so we're gonna try and copy him and be really bad at it."
Yeah. Let's have a
The problem,
let's have a really poignant moment and then make a joke. It works.
yeah, the problem is that like somehow this has become known as the Joss Whedon effect, except that he was good at it.
Yeah.
Well, he also used it sparingly. It wasn't every time there's a serious moment we're gonna have a character fart in the background.
Yeah.
He did
He
have
was a
it,
good writer, all things
but
considered.
yeah. Like I know a lot of people don't necessarily like him. There's whatever. I don't care for that.
Not a
I'm not
great
gonna get-
writer, but a good writer.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where you can do. There's a lot of things you can do as long as you don't overdo it and you use it sparingly. It's not a even with like I was saying, some of the editing in this episode. I think it starts off kind of fine, and the more they use certain tricks, the less I like it. It is what it is.
Yeah. So apparently the issue is that Evie Mux is for some reason, for the first time ever, totally overloading my system. So I had to shut down a whole bunch of other stuff.
Uses a lot of bandwidth.
It's never registered this high before.
So you're telling me we have to like dance the scenes out, interpretive dance what's going on in the show?
Yes.
Well, it took me
Nice.
like 6 tries to be able to go past this point, and it turns out I just can't go very fast.
Huh. Okay.
Because
I know Google Chrome uses a lot of bandwidth for some reason.
so I
So you
can't
might check
guarantee
that.
I can't guarantee that this is not gonna happen again. In fact, I'm not sure it's not happening now. Well, this is very frustrating. I thought I had it because it was working fine. And now apparently it's not going to. Yeah. Can you see the the thing going across the bottom there where it's like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be
Oh,
moving
yep.
scenes? It is not.
It looks so much like he's eating something out of a coffee cup.
It does.
He just apparently has
Is
an
that how
oral
he eats his
fixation.
coffee?
He apparently has an oral fixation with his stirrer stick there.
Yeah. Lots of cops with people who quit smoking will chew on their on stuff, or they'll eat a lot more. Because it's to keep the oral fixation to keep their hands busy.
Yeah, I think that's a quitting smoking thing. Period, as opposed to a police quitting
Yeah.
smoking.
Well, I just meant I started with that because we're in a police show, and
Yeah.
Sorry.
I do almost think that him kind of like fidgeting and playing with the cup and whatever else he has, I think it's intentional because I'm a free man. I could walk out that door, get a cup of coffee, come right back. You can't.
There's that
So
too.
I think there's almost like an intimidation factor there of like, I can do what I want, but you're going to be behind bars very soon.
The other thing I found interesting is that normally if you want to be intimidating, you get close to someone. I mean, you're not going to get close to a suspect because you don't want to get
Not necessarily.
injured, but
Not necessarily. Distance and your body language can create a sense of, like he said, I can leave whenever I want.
well, but that's
We
what I
also
was going to.
just talked about the isolation from the rest of the PD that's
Right.
going on.
Well,
That's. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think having Skinner over here, I'm forgetting his actual character's name, but having him more in the back here, I think is almost like setting up the chase that comes later because all the other cops are kind of rushing forward. He's the one that stays back, kind of scopes everything out. He's the one. We'll get to the scene when we get to it, but I almost feel like this was a setup for that.
Detective
Well,
Spivak.
Thank you, Jacob.
what I was going to say is that it sort of reminds me of like if you had a mobster scene, the boss would be hanging back
Mm-hmm.
and
Behind the desk, like Godfather.
and the peons would be moving forward.
Yeah.
And he's sort of setting himself up not as a physically intimidating guy, but like as the brains guy, which I think also
Yeah.
plays into the great minds think alike scene later.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think physically intimidating another cop would be especially productive in their situation.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's physical intimidation. Like I
Yeah,
said,
that's the point.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He's playing psyops with him. Yeah, most cops, when you interrogate them, you're not gonna be physically get them. You have to. It's mental. You're playing in a mental game.
Yeah, because they know you're not going to hit them, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Especially
I
if
said,
you worked
that
with the
camera
guy.
is off, so
Yeah.
they could have.
Yeah. Okay, we need to make decisions because this is again shutting down on me.
We could just talk about Detective Spivak for the entire episode.
If we don't get to Chad, I will be
He thinks-
heartbroken.
He thinks that Brett may have been a gun for a hire.
Murder for hire, yeah.
Yeah. I'm entertained by the choices that Evie Mux makes as to every time I shift a screen.
Again, though, like Jill just mentioned that he considers it. Oh, maybe he was a gun for hire. Like, is there any legitimate evidence to suspect that or suggest that, or is it just that Spivak has made up his mind and any shoe that fits and makes it look like Brett is the bad guy will work, whether it's dirty
Right.
cop, gun for hire.
Considering the press already
alien.
suspect that shortly after this, I think there's another source we don't know yet.
Okay, gotcha.
Somebody must have started that rumor, and it's just spreading.
Yeah, and that's all it takes. I know. Now police work. They're trained to not jump on rumors like that. But around this time, it was still kind of rampant. Where like if a seasoned detective can easily get convinced of something because of rumor or the press is saying or whatnot. It makes sense what y'all were saying.
But after this, he finally asks for the lawyer. But
Took him long
he's
enough.
gotta, yeah. And after this scene is the mugshot scene.
So, interestingly, it will play fine, literally until that scene of him leaning against the wall.
Huh.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then earlier it was freezing up pretty much everywhere.
Imagine having
Well,
such bad editing and affects EV Mux.
It might not look as good, but can't you get this on YouTube? Could you skip through the YouTube video?
That is an excellent question. I think I had kind of assumed that YouTube was probably going to
As long
take
as you
up
don't
more.
play anything.
I thought it was going
On
to take up.
Netflix. Oh no, that's a TV show. Never mind. That's a TV show.
Yeah, let's just put
It
Netflix on a
is.
YouTube stream, guys. That sounds great.
Let's do it.
Is there a way to skip forward the same way I can with?
I believe there
Yeah,
is.
same keys. If it's VLC,
Yeah.
it's exactly the same.
Yeah. You can just use the arrow keys.
All right.
We're making it work, baby. Let's go.
So I do have
Hell
to
yeah.
say. Well, that was terrible. All right, what did I say we were at for time?
10 something.
Wow, something went really wrong then because
Or maybe a little
There we
bit
go.
past that. When it first rose, it was 10 something.
all right. Take 346. I do have to say, like Evie Mux is notorious for technical issues, but
Mm-hmm.
this is definitely the worst. All right. So, yeah. So he basically is just matter of fact. Like, you did it. We can prove you did it. You're going away. And he gets mug-shotted, and that is his current partner.
Who is under IA investigation.
Yes. Yeah, he was actually supposed to meet with IA to testify about whatever the situation is, which is at this point mysterious.
And there's also a crazy man wondering where his brother is. I gotta get to my brother.
I had a thought about that guy. He's
Oh?
also living the same day over and over again.
Oh.
I thought that too. I had the same idea.
So she basically immediately is like, hey, what are you going to do to protect me? And he's like, hey, mugshot, fingerprint, a little bit busy right now. And she doesn't look apologetic at all. She just looks pissed off.
And what's strange is, like, when she walks into the scene, she's talking to, I'm guessing, another cop. She sees Tay Diggs, and she says, wait a minute, that's my partner. Like, she recognizes something is wrong, goes over to talk to him, and then, like, immediately just drops, like, hey. Like, she starts talking about herself, and he's like, dude, like, do you not see that I'm getting fingerprinted?
Sure.
All the
Like,
women
yeah.
in the show are so self-centered.
Wow.
So it started back then. All right.
So he is in jail. He's talking to this guy, who we find out later is not his lawyer. So I wonder if this is supposed to be his union rep. I don't know.
No, this guy is in the federal department. He's a Fed or something, I think.
Yeah, I think he was, like, maybe one of the dudes overseeing the
Yeah, that's
whatever
what
case
that's
he
what
was
it
involved
yeah.
in.
Oh, that's right. Yes. I forgot about that. He called him because he wants to know if he's heard from Damien. Damien's disappeared. They need him to testify.
And then I also think he tells him, like, hey, we got you a lawyer, and he's not really happy. He's like, oh, you got to do better than that. I have to get out of here. And he's like, dude, like, there's nothing we could do. Like,
We got you a lawyer. It's the best in the business.
yeah,
you
like
need
what
to
do you
keep your
expect?
you need to keep your head down because we need Damien, and Damien will only come out for you. So
Yeah.
but yeah, he's not handling this well. He is not
Also,
endearing
this guy
himself to anyone.
was in X-Files too, I think. Wasn't he?
Uh,
I think he looks familiar.
he was. I was gonna say he's definitely in something, but I don't. There's a lot of people that I looked at and I was like, man, this person's been in something, but I can't figure out what it is. So yeah, he's like, this is the I am done listening and I'm just going to shout at the phone. The earpiece is not near my ear anymore. Yeah. And then we see these two guys. They've got cameras. They're everyone else is, cheering and asking questions and generally being pains in the butt. And they're just kind of sitting there quietly recording him, which just, makes him
Cool
notice
stuff.
them immediately. And then he has his meeting with the lawyer. He basically says, you need to find Rita. They say, we can't find her. She's not at home. Um, she didn't go to the hospital.
Well,
Uh,
I could be wrong, but I think they specifically say not that she no-showed, but like she specifically called out for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Took a
Okay.
vacation day.
Vacation day.
do they say that here, or do they say that when he's looking for her at the hospital later?
I
They
can't recall.
say that
That's
at the
No,
later.
hospital.
at the hospital later, he says, "Oh, her shift should have started at 8. She should have been here." I believe that's all he says at that time.
But I
I
think
think
she
he
said.
does here. Yeah.
But anyway, he basically says your only like priority right now is to find her. And the guy's like, okay. He
Yeah, I'm
seemed
just a lawyer here.
well, but he seemed oddly confused. I mean, a witness that can prove that your client wasn't there does in fact seem like a big deal.
Yeah.
I think the thing here is that this guy is more shocked over the fact that he's not really worried about himself. He's telling him just find Rita, and this guy's like, well, what about you? And he's like, don't worry about it. I could handle it my own. Like, you need to get her. So I think it's more that like he's not really, at least from this guy's point of view, he's not really thinking too much about himself. Even though, I mean, he kind of is, like, she's his alibi.
She's his ticket out of there. Well, but the difference is that the lawyer's thinking, hey, you're a cop that's going to be in jail. you
Yeah,
should
right.
think about that. Whereas he's thinking, if you find her, I get out of jail. He's thinking long term.
Exactly, yeah.
This guy's thinking, I don't want my client to die before we ever get to trial.
Sister.
Yep. So he says, we did pull some strings and get you some time with your sister. His sister's like, what's going on? And he said, I don't know. I've been, arrested for murder. I can't find Rita. And she's like, Rita? Like Chad's wife, Rita? He's like, ex-wife?
And then he specifically says, like, hey, I know we haven't actually talked in a while. I was going to tell you.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because earlier in the scene when, in the episode, when it's implied that her husband is beating her, I was kind of sitting here going, who's going to beat their wife if her brother's a cop? Like, it seems like a dumb idea.
No,
But then,
no,
No.
it's common. It's
Yeah,
common.
it is.
It
no,
is common.
unfortunately it is, but I do
Most
think
people
that
don't do a lot of logistical calculus before they start beating their wife.
No, I listen. I totally get that, but I do think it's a nice small detail because it almost seems as if in the time where she was no longer in communication with her cop brother is when he started beating her. Do you get what
Yeah,
I'm
because it obviously hasn't been going on all the time. And they have two small children together. So this obviously, like, something has happened so that this is obviously
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
recent development.
and that's my point. I feel like it started up in the time where he wasn't talking to his sister, where he thought like, oh, he's out of the picture. I could get away with this, and yeah, he's a scumbag. No other way to put it.
Real glass hole.
That joke will make sense soon. So he's kind of like he's like basically saying, yeah, I'm in jail, but let's talk about why you called me 6 times. And she's like, no, everything's fine. Like, honest.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Everything fine meme.
Her facial and her body reactions here are really, really good though, because she's terrified. She's trying to cover up like it. I don't know the actress's name, but I really do think she does a phenomenal job in this short scene.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And he starts to take her hand, and she pulls away, and he pulls it back and rolls her sleeve up and discovers she's got bruises on her wrist.
I can't tell. Did anyone else think that the makeup here was pretty badly done?
I've seen better. I've certainly seen
Yeah.
better.
It looks more like a zombie virus than a bruise.
A little bit.
It worked for me. I was okay with it.
What was your question as far as the makeup?
I thought the makeup was poorly done. It did not look, like a realistic bruise.
I mean, it's not a huge detail. Like it's very easy to just ignore it. But
Yeah,
like,
it's on screen for less than a second.
Yeah,
I'm nitpicking.
I've certainly seen like better makeup jobs at at one point or another.
I wonder if it is harder. I mean, because you need the bruising to stand out and be obvious for the audience. But she's really dark skinned, and
Yeah,
I wonder if they
You
had to
account
just
for
get
that
ridiculous.
because bruises do look different on lighter and darker skin, so the artist has to figure out how to do that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like if he got bruised, would it even be noticeable? I can talk. Noticeable at all on a camera?
I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is I wonder if they just exaggerated it because they had to get the point across.
Yeah, maybe.
Not that makes it better makeup, but. And here's Chad.
Yeah, it's our boy.
Oh, it's Adam
Here we
Baldwin.
go.
What an asshole!
I smiled
Adam
so
Baldwin.
much seeing this. I love this man.
Oh, I love seeing him show up. He's just excellent at playing an asshole.
Yes.
He has a great intro because Brett has just found out that Jen has the bruise, and Brett says, "I'm gonna kill him." And Chad's first
Who you
line
gonna
is,
kill?
You're
"Who are you
kill
gonna
him?
kill him now?"
And even I really dig this scene too. Right before they're about to go into the elevator, because Chad talks to the other two cops, and he's like, "Oh yeah, give me the keys. We're gonna take the elevator up, just me and him." And
We
the
need
two
to have some
cops-
private time. We need to have some private time.
Yeah, and you could see that even the two other cops kind of don't like him and realize like this feels wrong, but before they can even turn to each other to recognize that, he's like, just give me the keys," and yeah, they just give it. It's like it's a good way of showing that even among the other cops, he's a bit of an ass.
Yeah.
Well,
There's also IA, and you don't want to mess
I
with
was gonna
IA.
say
Yeah,
I'm
that too,
fairly
but-
certain that.
yeah.
But that still makes him an ass because he's kind of using that power of like, oh, I'm IA, like, give me the keys, or there's going to be an issue. That doesn't make him any less of an asshole. If anything, like he's using his power to get
Well,
get what he wants.
I was wondering if, because I mean, he was a street cop originally. My understanding is that at least in certain areas, and correct me if I'm wrong here, obviously, that joining IA is almost considered to be some sort of like you're a traitor to the you're a
Yeah.
traitor to the rest of the brotherhood kind of thing.
Yep.
Which is kind of a shame because they really are, the Watchmen. Someone needs to watch the Watchmen.
Agreed.
But the Watch don't appreciate the Watchmen.
True.
They're more accepted now because a lot of the bad apples are able to be rooted out now. Back then, like even the good ones were just kind of like nailed to a wall and kind of bunched in with all the rest. Now AI is more like people are more open to go to IA now because like, hey, I'm not gonna lose my career for outing a bad cop now. Before, if you did, chances are you were getting fired and they were gonna put it on you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's come a long way in the last 20 years.
All right, I am not a pun fan, but Adam's joke is entertaining. Traitor Joe. So they're in the elevator, and he's basically like, "So, you've been spending an awful lot of time with Rita. Are you guys getting, nice and friendly?" And he basically questions him about whether or not whether Rita was cheating behind his back, and he's like, "No, never happened. Like, didn't happen, wouldn't have happened." And then, the most the most asshole thing you could do to a guy who's ever having a bad day. He's like, "How is she? I mean, there are those things you never forget, right? Like that thing she does in the shower."
Mm-hmm.
He's also really proud that she kept his last name.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Some people do that.
Yeah, but Brett's his comeback is you
Shut
need a breath
up.
mint.
No, it's like,
No,
yeah,
you
your
need
breath
breath mint.
smells. Yeah.
But he's trying real hard to restrain himself here. And Chad is trying real hard to get him to take a swing. And then he does it.
And I really dig the way these kind of back and forth shoves happen, because he finally snaps Tay Diggs. He takes a step or two towards him, kind of pushes Chad around a bit, and you see that Chad is a good couple inches taller than Tay Diggs, but he grabs him back and uses his entire body to throw him into the elevator wall. Like, even though it's nothing more than a shove, there's so much like weight and impact behind it. And like, I think that's great. I think you could throw 10 punches that don't look menacing and it doesn't mean anything, but that one shove had a lot of impact.
And the fact that he ends up with his, elbow in his throat, I think, too, was...
Yeah, I really dug this whole scene, this first go around, at least in the elevator.
Like, he actually looks nervous right there.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because when you initially see him, and I said, you look at him and you look at her and you look at Chad and you say like something doesn't belong, but then when you look at him side by side and Chad is so much taller, it somehow kind of balances out that, like, well, I may be muscular and you're just behind a desk wearing a suit, but
Yeah, and like I was saying about when he he is a good bit taller than Tay Diggs, but when he shoves him, like, he uses his entire body to push him back. It's not like some Hulk shove where he goes flying into the wall. There's a
yeah,
lot of weight, and I think like the camera angles kind of caught all of it perfectly this go around.
yeah, it was very well shot.
Wish it was that well shot the second time around.
So they're in court. They say they want no bail. They said he's a cop with a clean record. We have a witness. Well, yeah, but you can't produce the witness. So the interesting thing is that I don't know if it hadn't been a district attorney and if he wasn't a cop. I wonder if this would have gone the same way. Because that district attorney was probably someone she knew. Used to have a professor who said that, lawyers and district attorney and judges all like eat together and golf together and sleep together, and he's like, you don't ever want to piss one off because it's gonna be you're gonna get all of them.
Same with cops.
Yeah, we just happen to be talking about lawyers in that particular case, but so we get another zoom shot. And again, here we have this incredibly close-up shot that makes him look threatening. So I love the fact that they do actually manage to...
I don't know. I kind of disagree there. I don't think he looks like the first shot. He looks angry. He looks menacing. I wouldn't say he looks menacing here. I think
it's more ponderous.
like I said, he's more like lost in thought. Like, he's trying to figure this out. I wouldn't say he looks particularly threatening here. He just looks like someone deep in thought trying to figure out what the hell is going on with his life.
Not
I agree. I see pensive.
Not threatening. He's not looking threatening in that situation, but like those close-up shots are designed to convey danger and menace, not necessarily by him. In this case, it's probably to him.
Okay.
If we're reading into all the close-ups in this show, we're going to be here all week. There's a lot of close-ups in this show.
I didn't even do it. It wasn't even me this time. Oh my god. Oh my god.
I hope that there are people in the chat that understand this joke.
Oh man.
Welcome, Sammy. When you miss the plot, the important plot points. All right, so he is back in the van, going back to jail.
And there's a small detail here. While he's in the van, he's hearing about how there's a baseball game going on, and the Dodgers were down
Yeah, that's right.
like
I remember.
9 runs and then came back. It's set up in that scene while he's being transported, and then it comes back around later.
Yep.
Yes.
I had I remembered the Dodgers game, but I forgot that was where it.
Me too, actually. I didn't recall exactly where it came up. But that's the thing about time loops. You'll see it again and again.
So he is in his cell, and then all of a sudden he is on the ground, and he's got tape over his mouth, and his hands are bound. And there's nothing about how he got from one location to the other. And we are apparently in some sort of gravel and or dirt pit,
Yes.
lit up entirely by large machinery and work lights. And he is
Ooh, it stank.
obviously confused.
I
I
love the
loved
sand
the.
on his face.
I was
Yeah,
just
I was
gonna
just gonna
say
say
that.
that.
That would never happen like these days. Everyone always has to look too pretty. I always say I dislike how
Everything's
much
CGI now. You wouldn't have someone with a practical effect on their face now.
even if he actually was lying on the ground though, it's like one of my main complaints about modern day TV and movies is that everything is too clean, both in the plot line and in the actual effects.
Is that the running theme for shows you've never seen now? You just want to show us shows where people get really dirty?
I watch shows that feel real as opposed to manufactured.
So on to the time travel.
On to the time travel. So he gets kicked in the gut a couple of times.
Ow.
Um,
Ow.
And we'll see another face that people will recognize from. Oh, did we bypass it already?
No, this is the recording.
Yeah, I know, but I thought creepy guy with the unknown the unknown creepy guy had already walked out from behind the.
He
tractor.
did.
He has, yeah.
Yes.
So
and I knew by the voice what actor it was too.
yeah,
Yeah, dude.
I love
I
him.
have no clue.
he's what Mike in Better Call Saul
Uh-huh.
and Breaking
Yes.
Bad.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Jonathan Banks.
Yeah, Banks.
Jonathan Banks.
Kilo's putting it all together right now.
So he shows him a video of Rita in a parked car and this guy getting out with a gun and walking up to the window and blowing her away. No, like, this is what's going to happen if you don't obey us. Just, we're going to make sure you know that we're serious. Boom. And then he basically says, like, hey, you also have a sister, and she has small children. So you're going to do what we say, or they're next. And his response, like any good 2006
Okay.
police officer, is, I'm going to kill you.
This responds to a lot of things.
Yeah. You're going to do what?
Understandably.
While you're duct taped together?
Yeah.
And he basically says, actually, that's a great profile shot for him, too.
Right?
He basically like says, just remember that actions have consequences, and they inject him with something, and he says, actions, consequences, actions, consequences. And he passes out, and they walk away. And they just leave him there, which is also sort of weird if they, you'd think
If
they
it
would
is a
put him.
sedative like they claim, which it's probably not based on what happens immediately afterward or beforehand.
Well, if it is, you'd think they'd put him back in the unless they also want him to look more guilty because now he's escaped from prison.
Oh no, my assumption was what they're injecting him with is what's causing the time loops.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they know what's
There's
going
something at the end of the episode that
I don't
implies
think
they
they're
don't know
doing
that.
jack shit.
Yeah, they're surprised when he knows a lot later.
Yeah, he says, you told me last time I was here, and the guy's like, what? He really screws up his whole very obviously memorized spiel. So he wakes up just as the clock once again changes from 6:17 to 6:18. She's still sleeping. He is desperately happy to see that she's not dead. And he's like, she's like, what's going on? He's like, oh, I just had this really terrible nightmare and it was really vivid and it was really awful.
Yeah, and then he feels his ribs and realizes that they
Yeah,
are
and then he's like,
in a lot of pain.
he's
Oh,
like, I'm
merch.
really sore.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing in this time loop is that you carry the pain, not just the memories from
He
Yeah.
asks if he
He's-
shaved last night.
Yeah, because
he's
still
even got
got the
that nick. Yeah.
he's still got the nick. And then he hears the bang and he goes out and he sees these guys in the truck and then he sees the joggers run by and he's like, what the heck? And he turns back and she's got the television on and there's a truck that's overturned
Diapers.
with
Diapers
diapers.
all over the place.
And that happened in the first loop as well. I think we forgot to mention it. And
Yes.
he literally says the word diapers just as the guy says it. And she's like, what is going on? And he's like, I gotta go to work.
You ever have a deja vu?
All right, no, he says I need a shower, and then he gets in there and he sees the nick, and she's just very confused as to why he's acting so weird.
Have you ever
She
had
offers
deja vu? No, I'll
She
check
offer-
and see if they have it at the bakery.
She offers to help him, relax, and he's like, no, gotta go to work. So he goes.
Also,
He
broken
gets his
stuffed dishes back.
yeah.
Yeah.
He skips the coffee shop.
Yeah, he goes straight to his apartment, which is why, because he got there sooner, his neighbor isn't in the hallway to talk to him this time around.
Yep.
But it also, like, you realize that he missed the coffee shop, and then you just kind of assume the worst.
And he sees the newspaper on the mat, and it's the same headline. That Garza has been found murdered. He gets in, finds the messages.
And this time he knows that a gun has been planted on him, so he does something about it.
Yep. So he takes the gun and dumps it. So he takes the gun and looks as guilty as possible.
Pretty much.
Yeah, he really does. She also tries to warn his sister to stay home. But
Yeah,
that
and then he
doesn't
goes to the hospital. This is where he finds out that she's taken a day off and called in and isn't at the hospital. He's like, her shift already started. And he looks over and he sees the lady that he rescued last time in very serious condition. And he realizes, like, oh, I didn't go for coffee.
That's why you should never forget coffee.
This is why they don't make coffee at home in television.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
So
I like this. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're hurting my sister." He just grabs him and throws him through a window.
oh yeah, this is where the glass joke
Trophy.
comes into play.
Yeah, the trophy case.
This is where the glass joke comes in.
It's a really minor detail. It doesn't ruin the show for me by any means, but like, this dude's clearly the principal and he's kind of reprimanding a student. The student looks like she's about 35 years old. I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah, that didn't look. I didn't think that was a student. Oh my god, was that supposed to be a student?
it was, I think, supposed to be a student because she was like cutting or like, I believe so, because he even says you're dismissed before he throws his brother-in-law into the glass.
I also did not pick up on that being a student.
Yeah, dude, I was like, talk about a super senior. That's like a super
I thought that was
senior.
a
Anyway,
teacher.
at that point, just give up.
Yeah, wow, she's really behind.
Rough paper out, I guess.
So then he finds his sister, he warns her to take the kids, get the heck out, don't tell me where you're going. Yeah, so his first run through when he realizes that this weird thing is happening, he does not handle this well. he handles this much less well than the first time through. Period.
True. Well, now he's really freaked out. He's much closer to panicking in the second loop than he is in the first one. Ironically.
Well, I think
Well,
there's from his mind, like there's so many things he has to kind of fix and do right all at once. He doesn't know that this is going to keep looping around if it does. So he's trying to fix everything in one go. And the problem is he comes off like a maniac. Like his sister is
yes.
very uncomfortable when he's like, "Pack your bags, get out of here." She's looking at him as if she's more scared of him than she is her husband who's beating her.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you almost can't blame her because, like I said, Tay Diggs is he's a bit out there in the scene.
Well, and he also gets the cops' attention by throwing his brother-in-law into a trophy
Yeah,
case.
that too
Um,
doesn't help.
but he knows how this is going to end, and all he can think about is like, I got to rescue everybody. This is another one of those interesting shots where everything is weird.
Yeah. It's hot.
What happens if I pick the wrong? What does the kid say here? He's like, "What happens if I pull the wrong piece? We start all over again, son."
Wonderful. We've just compared this to Jenga.
I mean,
Also, was this the transition with the really like jarring mariachi music?
was
I
it?
don't remember that, but
I think it was. There was a musical cue here that I found very
there's
unusual.
definitely a lot of stuff in the trans. It's one of those that has a lot of flashy like scene change shots.
Yep.
So he's called his partner. She meets him in the park. And basically the first thing she says is, so tell me what happened between you and Garza. And he's like, why would you ask me about Garza?
That's not suspicious.
Yeah, and her body language here is really really good because you can tell that she kind of knows this is a bit scummy. Like she can't make eye contact with him. Like she knows that this is dishonest, that she's wearing a wire or whatever, but you see it before it's confirmed. Like she cannot make eye contact with him. It's very uncomfortable, and I think they really captured it pretty well.
Yeah.
Something else I do like, they don't pull the normal trope of, oh, I'm a cop. I noticed those 3 police officers and the guy up on the roof. It's like, I like that. That was good.
Yeah, he doesn't notice until she makes it
It's
very
too late.
obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she says, "I'm sorry." She cut a deal with IA for them to drop the investigation in return for setting him up, basically. So he runs, and she just sits there.
I wonder
You-
if that
you
means
notice-
she thinks that he's guilty.
And
Well,
the
what I
boy
found
knocks the
interesting is
Jenga
that
over.
what I found interesting is she's still a police officer, and she did not give chase.
Well, that could be understandable, especially as a partner, because I know this is inside baseball here, but like when there are police departments that have partners, like I worked, it was you were by yourself, but if you have a partner, that basically that person is closer to you than your spouse.
Yeah.
Like, you're closer than a spouse, and you're closer than your children, because that person, your life is in that person's hands the entire time you're together.
I mean, maybe she was just in heels and didn't want to run.
Well, if she's under investigation, she's probably on desk duty, if nothing else.
I would say it's because like she like she expressed sadness for having to throw him under the bus. She's not gonna like pour salt in the wound. She's just gonna I did my part. I'm done. Finish.
Well, I just meant she might also get away with it
Oh.
because if she's not on active duty,
Yeah.
then. So desperation does insane things, and he decides to jump on top of a train. Unfortunately,
Speed.
somehow, despite the fact that those things move very fast, the people chasing him still manage to catch up. And I think, I'm trying to remember this guy here who's all blurry in the shot, unfortunately. There's our not so good cop. Um, Man, I don't know why he came out blurry in every shot. I think this is the only time we actually ever see him, in the whole in all of the multiple scenes. I may be wrong though. It's been a long time since
The
I watched.
Asian detective
No.
with long
The
hair.
the guy who has the badge around his neck that is initially chasing him.
Yeah,
So that
that guy's been in a lot. He's just a background character in a lot of movies.
well, I just found it interesting that considering this is a loop and considering he's been in a bunch of stuff, that
Yeah.
he gets one scene.
Hey, we need somebody for this one scene.
Get
Hey,
that guy.
Shieldwall, welcome.
Get that guy we see in all those movies.
And yes, Shieldwall, this is the point of this, that these are all shows that got overlooked and no one ever heard of. Hence, shows you've never seen. So the subway takes off. They all follow, looking to go to the next station. He has, tucked himself in under the little lip there, looks around, decides the coast is clear, jumps up, and poof. There's the
Skinner. No, sorry.
yeah.
And,
There's the smart cop.
and this was kind of what I was talking about before when they're in the interrogation room, how he's the farthest back and the other guy's a little closer. Like all the other cops bum rush the train, they get in there, they're looking for him. He's the one in the background, kind of eyeing everything out, scoping it, and he's the one that ends up catching him. It's a good way to frame it. God, what's his name? Spivak, I believe.
Yeah.
It's a good way to frame him, because when you have characters that, like, obviously he's a bit of a villain here. When there's a certain intelligence and observation that they're giving to him by having him just kind of stay back, and it makes him a lot more intelligent than I feel a lot of the other cops. You really do feel like he's kind of the main villain here, and anytime you could make a bad guy seem intelligent, I feel like that's half the battle. I am so tired of villains that are just stupid. It's so boring.
Or misunderstood.
Except that he's not even a villain. Like, from his perspective.
No, I totally understand. Like, from his perspective, this guy killed a DA. Like, he's doing his job. But
He's an antagonist.
Yeah.
That is an
That's the
excellent.
better word.
That
Yes,
is
there
an
we go.
excellent distinction. That is an
Thank
excellent
you.
distinction.
Like, from his point of view, he's totally doing his job. The only really thing you can fault against him is maybe he's a little too set already that Tay Diggs is guilty. It's the only thing you could really fault him for. He's doing his job, but like, yeah.
But too, that the show is also putting it out there like he might have something to do with it. He might be the one setting him up.
Yeah, he might
But
be. He might be a bad guy, but we don't know
be a
quite
red
yet.
herring.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that, like, there's a certain amount of police work that is just statistics. If there's a murder, if there's a murder, the chance is that there's a X% chance that it's going to be someone that they knew. If it's a pregnant woman that's murdered, there's a much higher percentage that it's going to be whoever fathered that kid.
Yeah.
If there's a murder and you find the gun with the gunman's fingerprints in his closet in his apartment, then 99.9% of the time you got your guy.
Right. It looks strange to us because we see a lot of shows and movies where people have been framed, but in real life, framing doesn't happen that often.
Right.
So Sorry.
I mean, it's sort of like, if you have let's say, this is from a hospital perspective, if you have a 28-year-old female who has a history of anxiety and parents with mental health disorders, and they come in complaining of heart issues, and you don't find anything on the testing, the chances are you're going to diagnose them with anxiety and send them home and tell them to chalk up some more, time with their therapist. But like 0.01% of the time, there's a cardiac issue that is only showing under very specific conditions, that would be extremely rare in someone that young, and they're gonna die. But the problem is that you can't run medicine based. This isn't a house. This isn't a house show. You're not running on the 0.01%. You're running on the 99%, and that's where most police officers are. Is they're running on the 99%. So now here we are back in this room with this shot. It's interesting because it's the same, but it is slightly different, and somehow less cool to me. um, Part of me wonders why they didn't just use like the exact same scene, basically. Though I guess it's to show slight differences in the timeline. And part of me is really surprised that after having led them on such a chase, he didn't smack his head getting into the police car.
Yeah, oops. I told you to
Sorry.
watch your head. Man.
Here we go again. Back up against the wall. Similar questioning, but not quite. Except then this time he's very confident. He's like, "You don't have anything on me," and he's like, "Oh, so our divers aren't going to find anything off the bridge?" Which, of course, is exactly where he threw it.
And only makes him look more guilty, because once in the first set of events, you could argue, yeah, I had no knowledge of it. It was planted in my house. If they have, footage of you throwing it into the water, like that makes you look 10 times worse.
Yep. Yeah, that was my first thing when I saw him wrapping it up and throwing it over. I was like, "Oh, you've just made yourself look so much worse."
If he had taken it apart and wiped it down and just tossed it out the window or something, it'd been like, that gun
Or
went
even
in my house. What are you talking about?
even if he wiped it down and put it back in the closet, he could
Yeah,
say it was
but
planted
the
because
thing is, I
Well, it's
think
still the murder weapon.
the people that
It
are
is.
framing him are very thorough.
They are, but I'm just saying that like it's the prints that really get him. I mean, his house has obviously been tossed.
Yeah.
He can say like, "Look at my apartment. Like, here are like send the lawyer over, have the lawyer take pictures of the fact that his place has been trashed." This is another good shot. The way he's framed in light and the other two are in dark.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of things he could have done. What he picked was the worst one. Of course, he didn't know he was being filmed at the time, but
And here's the
He still
here's the
doesn't know
crazy
he's
guy, right?
followed. Yeah.
sorry, what'd you say,
Oh,
Razor?
sorry. Yeah. He mostly still doesn't know that he's being followed everywhere.
Yeah, he's seen those guys and they raised alarm bells, but it's kind of tucked into the back of his brain at the moment.
Yeah. I was gonna say, here's where the does the crazy guy show back up here? Isn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's
But
right
he's-
in the background. He's
But
just
he's a lot
staring
more
at him.
calm this time. The first set of events, he's flipping out. Here, he looks like they gave him a couple quaaludes. He's kind of just tired, staring off into the distance.
No,
I
I
wonder if
got
he's
it.
still looking for his brother.
He was actually
So-
looking at what's his name here. He wasn't looking off into the. He was looking like directly at him.
Yeah.
That's why he noticed. Why's that guy looking at me like that?
This time he uses his phone call to check his own messages. And he gets the call from Damien. And then just as he's hanging up, he hears there's another message where someone says you should have gotten a package. Just as he's made to hang up. We're back with the lawyer. The lawyer's like, as if my job wasn't hard enough, you had to go and assault your brother-in-law. Like, what the heck, dude?
It felt good at the time.
Worth it.
That is basically how he responds. Yes.
Yep. And he basically says, like, you have to find Rita. Like,
And he's also incredibly angry that his sister is with her husband in the hospital, because he told them, He told her, get the kids, get as far away as you can. He's livid at the fact that she's still at the hospital with her husband.
And she's still with him, period.
Yeah, obviously.
So here we go again with the elevator scene. Except this time he steps out and he's like, I'll be gentle.
Yeah, he's like, I got this, I'll be gentle.
So, as if he once again makes himself look more guilty. Chad this time is like, that didn't go the way it was supposed to. Yeah, and he just walks in like, everything's fine. And Chad makes a comment about the game, and he says, hey, fun fact, they rally. And then he proceeds to just beat the snot out of. They go back and forth a little bit. But...
Well, Brett is the one who spoils the game for Chad.
Yeah. Because Chad and the other cops were saying, like, oh, we turned it off, we couldn't watch anymore. So he tells them, oh, like, I'm going to tell you this, they rally in the 9th. They start this fight, though, and I've got to be honest, I thought that this was shot horribly. There's a lot of shaky cam. There's a lot of really, really fast, like, changing of camera angles. And I think it's overdone to the point where it actually takes away from the fight rather than adding to it. Like, I totally understand that they're in an elevator, they're in a tight space. You do want to move the camera around a bit so that it doesn't look too claustrophobic, too tight.
Actually, I would think you would want it more tight and more claustrophobic.
Not to the point where you can't see what's going on, though. Like, I do get...
No. I'm saying I agree with you. That, that the thing that got to me is that we've already talked about how tall he is.
Yeah.
Look at him on the floor of this elevator. Have you ever been in an elevator? I can talk. An elevator that big? Even hospital elevators are long, but not necessarily like that.
Not a perfect square.
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah, and they're never a perfect square.
Like I was saying, though, like, I do... Like, I think they were trying to work with the camera angles to make it seem like there's a little more going on, because I feel like with fight choreography, the movement of a camera, I think, is just as much of an action as a punch being thrown.
Yeah.
And I get them wanting to move around, but I think they overdo it to the point where it takes away from the fight rather than add to it. Like, if you look at the first set of events, I was talking about how, there's just like a quick shoving match, but those two shoves have a lot of weight and impact to them, where the camera's kind of flipping around so much here. You see bits of a struggle, but you don't see a lot of weight behind the action. And it feels like a shame, because I'm sure, I don't know if they use stuntmen or if it's Taye Diggs and the other actor, but either way, like, I'm sure that whoever was doing the fight choreography was putting in the work. Like, if it is Taye Diggs and Adam Baldwin, they're both in decent shape. It's not like it's Danny DeVito and Chris Farley bitch slapping each other in an elevator.
Wait, hold on. Good shape doesn't necessarily translate to good fighting ability. But
they're cops. They're cops. You're telling me they're not trained in fighting?
The actors, no. The actors. Now, a lot of the 99% of reasons shaky cam is there is because the actors can't make it look real.
Well, so then you should have. Well, then you should have just used stuntmen. I don't know. I just feel like.
Agreed.
Even if they're not stuntmen, I feel like they're both in shape enough that they could have put on a decent.
Dude, I'm gonna go back to in shape doesn't mean you can fake fight or even fight, because I knew guys. Well, I know guys now who are in shape, and they, like, if you want to, like, jujitsu or spar with them, they look fucking horrible.
Trust me, I get it. I've seen plenty of jack dudes that do not have to throw a punch. I've seen it, dude. But it's just a shame, because either way, no matter who's doing the fight choreography, I'm sure they're putting in the work, and the camera angles just do nothing to help it, man.
You guys are both forgetting context. The Bourne movies had just come out.
I don't care. I don't care.
Transformers.
No, but what I'm saying is,
I
don't think it's that they couldn't make it look real in this case. I think it's that shaky cam was really in fashion.
Yeah.
Because the Bourne movies had come out and they were really popular and they
That's
had all the
fair.
shaky cam.
That's fair, and maybe the Kenobi show just ruined shaky cam for me, but
Oh, I mean,
I don't
shaky
know.
cam in general was ruined. I mean, I didn't even like it in the Bourne movies. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that it was popular and everyone was using it's like that stupid like Neo scene
Oh,
like that just showed up everywhere for a while after the Matrix came out.
yeah. No, I get what you're saying. It's just I don't like the way it was shot. I feel like all the angles, like I said, there's all the weight is removed. You see a bit of struggle, but there's not a lot of impact behind anything.
Yep.
It doesn't ruin the episode, but it really does it takes me out a bit. Like I feel like they could have done a little better. And I feel like in a show like this where I do feel like there's going to be a good bit of action, I'm kind of praying any fight scenes that come later in the show are shot better than this.
I'm
I
more on
thought
the story
The first one was
side.
shot better than that, so there's hope.
yeah.
But that wasn't, like I said, it wasn't really a full on fight. It was just two shoves. Like,
I'm trying to be optimistic, okay?
So-
listen. If the most I have to complain about in an episode is that a fight scene looked cheesy,
Hey.
like I'm happy.
Hey guys, Jacob, you need to head out.
Yeah, I do. I have another show at 8, so I gotta
Okay.
gotta go for that.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it. Next week, right? Same time next week.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Alrighty, great. Yeah. I'll be on Sergeant Garatina's channel, talking the great movies, Jurassic World. So that'll be fun.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm being sarcastic, by the way.
I know.
Yes,
I know.
yes, we got that.
I
picked
hope
up
so.
on it.
Your poker voice is terrible.
Yeah. All right. Y'all take care, guys.
Have a great night.
Good
Yep,
night,
y'all too.
Jacob.
Bye.
So here was my take. My take was he dealt with the first run through fairly well because he didn't really know what was going on and he was just kind of reacting. He was trying to react logically. And
He
the
was
fight
being like, conservative, essentially.
he tries to act well and with purpose, and the fight goes well and with purpose. This run through, he has been chaotic and terrible and acted incredibly guilty the whole time, and the whole thing has just been chaos. And the fight ends up looking very poorly done and like chaos. I thought that the shots are supposed to represent his mindset during the run through.
I mean, it could represent whatever it wants. I just didn't think it looked particularly.
Yeah, it's still ugly. Even if that's
Yeah.
No. What I'm saying is, I think that's on purpose.
And no, it could be a completely intentional thing by their part. It still doesn't make me like it anymore.
Yeah.
Like
okay,
I get what
that.
you're saying, but it's like intention's great, but it's, it
I mean-
still has to, like, execution matters a little more.
I mean,
Hopper's in a
I
frenzy for more reasons than just the fact that Chad is the ex-husband. It's because he saw Chad there with Jonathan Bakes and said, "Oh, you're here." Is
Well, no,
that you?"
I don't think he saw him there. He was just assuming because Chad's an ass. Oh, Chad, are you doing this? You're having your IA buddies beat me up. Like, I don't think Chad was actually there. I just think he thought he could have been there.
Well, he says, "Chad, is that you? Is this how Internal Affairs is running things now?"
Yeah, but once again, I think that's him waking
that-
up from
that-
his sleep, assuming Chad is there, assuming this is all Chad's thing of, we're
yeah, he
gonna
and Chad
punch
hate
you
each other,
and-
so therefore.
Yeah, like, I don't think Chad was actually there. He's assuming he's catching an ass beating because Chad's having his IA goons mess with him, and then he realizes that isn't the case. But I don't think Chad was actually there. And the one thing about this scene, though, I really dig, and we're talking about how he's a bit mentally, he's all over the place. He's kind of rushing. There's so many things he's trying to fix and get right at once, where he's checking the keys to try to find out which car is Chad's because he took Chad's car keys.
Mhm.
And he's so in his own head, he actually runs past the car and then has to run back to it because he realizes, oh shit, like that, those lights are going off in that car.
Except they
Yeah,
don't
that-
even show the run back. They quick cut from him seeing the car to a car peeling out of the lot in a way that is so quick that I thought like a
No,
car was
I
coming out to
think
chase him.
I think you see the run back because you see him kind of run, turn around, go, oh, it's that car. And then, I mean, they don't show like the whole thing of him running all the way back, getting in the car. But like I said, like his mind's so all over the place. He kind of just ran past the car, didn't notice, and then went, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that you definitely see him take at least the first couple of steps. So this caught me totally off guard. So the first thing he does is go back to his partner's, or go to his partner's house, where he holds her at gunpoint with her own gun.
Which is, I think it's a little. I mean, like, yes, I'm assuming he's a cop, she's a cop. He knows that she's gonna have some type of side piece buried in her house, but like, what if you couldn't find it? Like, what were you gonna do if you just couldn't find the gun? Just be like, hey,
That's a good question.
how are you? I have a vase. I guess that's scary.
Actually, he kind of chastises her. He's like, "You got to put this someplace else. I found it in like 5 minutes."
That's a flattering shot.
um, so she basically confirms that she sold him out in order to get IA off her back. She basically says, "I kind of feel caught in the middle. I have no idea what's going on. You haven't talked to me in months." And he admits to her that he's been working on this project with the Latin disciples.
Which is the first time we hear that name.
Right.
Which made me assume they were like some kind of Catholic group at first.
And
a group of molested choir boys.
So he basically says, "Can I still trust you?" She agrees to go look for Rita, and she gives him her gun because she's like, "You're gonna need this." Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
No, that's pretty much it. That is well done. And she's gonna help.
And I think he says he's gonna go find Damien.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
He's gonna go find Damien, and that's why he's gonna go clubbing.
Yep.
Yeah. He's going
Sharp
clubbing.
cut to the club music.
Yeah. This too I really liked because I'm so used to shows where they walk in and they're like, "Hey, I've got a meeting with, so and so." And even though that person considers themselves wronged, they're just like, "Sure, I'll hear you out and let you talk your way out of this first." And in this case, they basically pat him down. They take the gun immediately that she just gave him. And he walks in, and then he's grabbed by these two guys who proceed to walk him off the roof.
Which I thought it's a
That
great
was well
little,
It's very funny.
yeah, it's a great little fake out too, because you kind of assume, like, I was assuming, oh shit, he's dead. The cycle's just gonna start again for whatever
Yeah.
reason. But then now you realize he only fell about maybe like 10 feet, which, I mean, it's still a lot. I know that's gonna hurt, but at least he's not dead.
Yeah, and it's very obvious that he thinks he's getting walked off the roof proper.
Yeah.
So that makes us believe it too. So- and the
so-
unfortunate thing is that your injuries carry over to the next loop. So
So this is where we first meet Damien, who basically says, "You sold me." He believes that he sold him out. He said, "I was at the safe house. All of a sudden, I looked out. Everyone was gone." And he's like, "No, I didn't." He's like, I didn't sell you out. Like, why would I sell you out? I'm on the run from murder." And Damien's like, "What?"
Yeah,
And he's
then
like,
the
"Oh
funny-
yeah, like."
Yeah, like,
So
Damien looks over to like his goonie and he's like, "Is he right?" And like this guy right here, he's shaking his head like, "Yeah, dude, I saw this dude on the news. He's telling the truth."
yeah,
It's just
Damien
so
doesn't
funny.
watch TV.
My job in this organization is to watch the news.
But it's so funny though, because like these guys are clearly like, they're not, they're not living very clean lives. They're doing some shady stuff. But when this guy shakes his head, he's shaking his head like, "Yeah, dude, like, that's the guy who killed the DA. He's dangerous," as if whatever they're doing isn't probably just as dangerous and dirty.
But look at the guy who's in the background though. Like, he's got like the high buttoned collar, which is generally the psycho look in most shows. look at Damien and look at him, and he just looks like the guy that the bullies made do their homework in high school,
That's why he
and
watches TV.
he's still hanging out. He's like, "Yeah, my job is just to keep track of stuff for these guys."
Yeah.
He thinks he's cool.
Um, but he's basically like, "No, there is no deal. Like, we're not making a deal anymore." And he's like, "No, no, like I can protect you. I will personally get you protection instead of, depending on people." And he's like, "You can't even protect yourself."
And
Uh,
the interesting thing to note though is that Damien talks about how when the safe house gets crashed, it wasn't Latin disciples or whatever they're called. It wasn't cops. It was a bunch of white bikers. I guess Sons of Anarchy pulled up, and he looks a little confused by this. Like Tay Diggs is, like he's off put. It's like another thing entering his head that he doesn't know how to deal with yet, or
Yeah.
how that even plays in the picture. But like
Bikers?
Yeah.
some really good facial reactions from him.
He calls
But
them
Damien-
skinheads.
yeah, Damien says like they obviously were trying to, make sure it didn't look like them. So as soon as he says you can't even protect yourself, there are suddenly bright headlights in the alleyway they're walking in. And a couple of guys get out with guns and just start shooting. They gun down Damien and the guys with him, and our protagonist, makes a break for it, and boom, there he is back in the.
And I
How he
believe
went?
Oh crap! Here we go again.
I believe it's the same exact car that was circling his house in the beginning
The
of the
Black Buick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a really quick touch at the beginning of the episode that's like so easy to miss when you're just looking at the garbage truck, but then you notice it and you're like,
wait, there's no
yes.
car. Yeah. That's awesome. I love shows that do that. They like to take the small details.
The problem is that would never work nowadays because everybody's on their phone.
Yeah.
Well, my bad.
Sorry.
Or they wouldn't let the car kind of just stroll by. They'd have to zoom in on it to the point where you couldn't help but notice it.
That's why I like Edgar Wright. That he hides shit like that in plain sight with his movies.
It's really kind of a chicken and the egg thing. It's like we want people to know what's going on in our movies, so we have to spell everything out. But then when we spell everything out, there's no reason for people to actually pay attention.
Right.
But you watch a show like this, and if you do not watch the show, I was actually going to make a comparison when Jacob was here about the fact that the X-Files is like that. You can miss a lot of stuff. I was on his X-Files show last night, and I had missed several things because I literally walked into the kitchen to grab a glass of water where I could still hear it, and then walked back, and apparently missed a couple of very important like visuals, like just in that couple of seconds. So this time he sits himself up. He's not going to lay in the dirt. And we have our silhouetted scary guy again.
I can only see him as the guy from Community. Like he's in Community. He's fucking hilarious. I can't see him as serious anymore now.
Really?
Yes, he's in Community. He plays a retired cop who's a teacher now or something at the community college, and he's so hilarious.
Huh? He's so good at being ominous.
I know you need, and he likes to draw like an animated duck. So I can't see him as serious anymore.
I mean, I could definitely see him doing other things because his acting range is really good, but I would never have a hard time seeing this guy as sinister.
Not at all.
Until I saw Community, and there's the episode, the D&D episode he's in it just killed me. I like, okay, it broke me. This guy, I can't see him serious.
So anyway, the guy starts off on his spiel again, except he keeps interrupting and telling him details that he's like going to say. And he's like, "How do you know all this? Like, you need to tell me where this information is coming from." He's like, "You told me, like, before you did whatever it is you did to like make this happen." And he's like, okay.
Yeah, and once again, it's really nice seeing him being caught off guard because he's the shadow man in the background. He's creepy, he's ominous. But the moment he says like, yeah, I know this is about Garza, like even you can't see his face, but even in the guy's voice, like he's worried and concerned as to how he even knows that information. And like just the inflection in his voice, the fact that that carries so much and you don't even see his face. It's a lot of solid work, man.
But so they shove his head down to the screen again. He watches Rita die again. Um, he's pissed off again. And he gets injected again, and the guy gives him the speech about actions and consequences again, which is really interesting because the first time he seems so ominous doing it, and the second time through, it's so obvious he's just memorized this speech to give him. And when he gets thrown off, like he can't really adapt. He still just keeps trying to go through the same script.
He's like, dude, I've been practicing this speech in the mirror for like 3 weeks, and you're just gonna fucking ruin it like that? God damn.
What a dick.
And this time he's kind of standing. He doesn't just walk away. He kind of is looking at him like, And then we fade out again. We get the sun like we did the first one. And in this case, he's already up. He's already dressed. He's looking at her when she wakes up. And she says, like, what's going on? And he said, I love you. And she says, I love you too. And he said, let's just both call off today. Let's just go for a drive. And he's so like emotional about it. He's so intense about it with the I love you.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch a woman get shot that you love like twice
Twice.
in a
Mhm.
day. Like you might feel like speaking up about stuff like that.
Right, but from her perspective, like, it's just like, whoa, like, where did that come from? So she's all excited because he's offered to go meet her mom, which she's been trying to coax him into doing for some time, apparently. And he's all relaxed because he's like, oh, finally, like, all I have to do is just not be there.
Yeah.
And then cars pull out in front and behind. And I think they just end on the cliffhanger of them being stuck between these two.
Sure do.
I couldn't help myself.
Bravo. Oh my god.
All right, so my apologies for the technical difficulties that led to this running a tiny bit longer than I had intended. This was supposed to be 2 hours, and we're at 2:15. But adapt and adapt and overcome. So final thoughts. I love the show. I agree with Eraserhead. I am not sure that I love it as much as Carnival, but I do love this show. I love it in a different kind of way.
I like it
It's less weird.
quite a lot. It's less weird than Carnival. It's objectively less well made than Carnival, at least on a technical level. We're going to see how the writing pans out, but that's a high bar to meet, probably. But I am a big enthusiast of time loop stories. I love seeing how stuff changes over time as characters try different things. So I am eagerly awaiting more of that.
Yeah, I really do like this first episode. I think it's good, not great. I think a lot of it's just set up to what's going to come later. And as much as I didn't like the shaky cam and some of the action, there's very, very little I could complain about in terms of the writing, the story, or how things are progressing. And I mean, I'm not good with ratings, but I'd say this is probably like a good 7.5. The first episode.
Okay, that's solid numbers. Jill?
Yeah, I agree. I agree that that it is definitely every show. It actually makes me care about him. I do care a ton about Brett Hopper, and I feel bad for him. So I care most about the story elements, and I think all of those are stacking up pretty well. And this was definitely something that I didn't know about, and didn't even give it a chance because I didn't know about it. But the loopy element is really compelling for me, and so I'm looking
glad you
forward
made
to
it.
learning more.
I'm glad you made it through the first half to discover it wasn't just a police procedural.
Yes, yeah. I was about to say, maybe this podcast isn't for me, but yeah, I'm glad I made it through to find it was more than that.
Darnell?
So having only seen the first few minutes, but going through the episode with you guys, I'm remembering this show now, seeing the trailers for it and wanting to watch it, and kind of being glad I didn't because I have very, very, very OCD. If I start something, I have to finish, and if I can't, it's like an itch in the back of my head. But this makes me want to go watch the whole show, and it seems like something I would have been into. Well, it's something I was into back then, and still am into now. Like Eraserhead said, I love time loop shows and movies. I love them to see like the subtle differences each time.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm impressed you even saw trailers because most people don't even remember
Well,
those. So
I'm a huge TV guy. I always find time for TV, like no matter what. It's just like even if it's like late at night, 2 in the morning, I'll find time to watch something for an hour. And TV has always been a thing I enjoy because it was my escape from reality when I was a kid. So it's always just been my thing to just turn back to,
yeah,
you know.
Hmm.
I I am not a big TV person. I don't usually have time. But I used to work nights in a hospital, and we once had an entire weekend where we didn't get a single patient in for check-in.
I love those time. I love those weekends.
And I found this show during that, and I ended up binging the entire thing in that 2 days. um, so yeah, I really enjoy the show. It is kind of interesting to go through. It's been quite some time since I watched it. I watched it twice when I first discovered it. I watched it, and then I went back and I watched it again, and I have not watched it since. Um, And it is interesting to see other people's perspectives, like, by a ton. So, I do wanna remind everyone that, it's available on YouTube, so everyone can, like, watch week by week along with us so that, you can tell us why we're wrong in the chat. Um, I think one of the things with Carnival was that it was some people had seen it and they enjoyed the show a lot, but there were a lot of people that were like, "I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what you're talking about." So I think it's great that, this time people will be able to watch it with us. So, all right. If everyone wants to go around, starting with Eraser, and plug your stuff.
I don't have a channel, man. So it's
Well, plug
you know
all the people's stuff that you mod for then.
yeah, there we go. I mean, I'll be here next week. I'm usually hanging out over at a B-roll stage on Friday night. So check that out. I'll put their Discord in the chat too. I'm usually hanging in there, the voice chat in that Discord server. But other than that, man, not much going on. Like I said, I'll just be back here in a week, and hopefully the second episode's even better than this one.
And hopefully we have less technical issues.
I'm not going to get that hopeful. It's EV Mux we're talking about. Come on now.
Well, I'll make sure I reboot everything so that all the background stuff is cleaned out at that point. So, Jill, what's going on with you? Where are you going to be? Where can people find you?
Well, for me, I want to thank you. Thank you for having me on today. I have a channel, same as my name, Anti-Derivative Jill, and I like to talk mostly about science fiction, Star Trek, and lots of fun stuff. But sometimes I'll go beyond that, but not this week. I'm doing Twilight Zone every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central, Friday, 11 a.m. Central. Also, science fiction. I'm gonna cover the Flight of the Navigator.
Ooh.
And for real, guys, go check out some of those. I mean, check out all the streams, but I've caught some of the Twilight Zone ones, and they've been really fun, man. Certainly check those ones out, guys.
I love the Twilight
I
Zone.
didn't know you listened. Thank you.
I pretty much watch every Twilight Zone thing that I run across. It sometimes takes me a while to get through it, but I love the Twilight Zone. Kilo.
You will find me nowhere. I will be vanishing from your screens. I might not be back for a couple weeks actually because I have conflicts, but it was lovely hanging out with y'all. Check out more goat stuff and other things people are showing.
He will not be seen because he will be busy haunting the corners with his evil featheriness. And staring at Eraser weirdly in the in the thumbnail.
You might not be here, but I am still staring at Eraser. Just keep that in mind.
All right, Darnell.
Yeah, so you can find me on Rumble at Darnell Quigley. On X at Darnell Quigley with no E before the Y. I made too many accounts with the same name and had to change it. I will be on AI Dungeon tomorrow night with Killer Games Cast on Rumble. We do AI prompted story through but we do we're doing a horror story, and then that's at 8 o'clock Central tomorrow night, 9:30 on my Rumble channel. Two civs and a pig. I go over police body cam videos with two civilian buddies of mine, Sammy Threepeat and Iron Oxide. We break down body cam videos and just kind of like talk about it, like, okay, this is why cops do it this way. Oh, that makes sense. Well, why do they do it that way? I don't fucking know. That the cop don't know what he's talking about. Don't know what he's doing. We just break it down raw and just give it to you, like, with a side of peas.
Is Sammy still a civilian if he's a World War One veteran?
I'll ask him. I'll ask him.
Oh man.
I'll talk to him about that. I'll get the backstory on that. Friday I do insert title here with Galaxy. Shit, I'm drawing a blank
Uh-oh.
on their name. It's Drunken Emerald Arrow, a Galaxy something on Rumble. That's 11:30 p.m. Central. Monday I do Pop Culture Beatdown with Sean at Third Railify and Killer Games Cast. And Tuesday nights I do AI Dungeon with Moxie Dame, where we do fantasy dungeons. And Jill mentioned Star Trek. At the end of every month, well, usually we do a Star Trek: The Next Generation table read of a script, and on Moxie Dame's channel on a Sunday. Well, this last Sunday of every month, and we just kind of get silly with it, and we have a really good time. Sammy is actually one of the other guys who's there every week, and he does a great Geordie LaForge. I'm gonna tell you that.
I'd really love to be the bong resin that kills Tasha Yar. I think that would be awesome.
I think so. We talked about that doing that episode soon.
Sweet.
All right. I am the Eclectic Goat. I am on Twitter, Discord, and here, obviously, as the Eclectic Goat. You can also join my Discord, which is the Eclectic Herd. We have a lot of creators that will look for players for games, people that are looking for artists, some writing stuff that kind of comes up, and, general announcements of things that are going on with people that other people might find interesting. This is currently the only steady show that I am doing. I am planning on shooting for about one other video a month, maybe two if I'm really lucky. I am doing an interview with a local author who has a very cool. It's a sci-fi book, but it's really based around like veteran PTSD at the same time. So we're going to be talking about that next Monday at 6:30. And I believe that Kilo and I, at the end of the month, are going to be doing a review of a game.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested to see if you have the same opinions on it that I did.
I probably don't, but I think I have a good idea of how you're going to feel about it.
Yeah. Mainly my main thought was, did they hire an editor? I want to thank everyone for coming, both chat and panel. I had a wonderful time. And again, I apologize for the technical issues, and we will try and work bugs out between now and then. Maybe it was just the heat, and, as soon as it cools off, it'll be a little better. So I hope that everyone has a great night, and we will see you next week. Happy headbutting.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Good night.